Mr. President, in just a few minutes, I'll ask for unanimous consent to pass my Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. This is a very simple bill, Mr. President, and it should be a non-controversial one. It simply says that a baby born alive after an attempted abortion is entitled to the same protection and medical care that any other newborn baby is entitled to. That's all. It doesn't limit abortion. It doesn't make abortion illegal. It simply states that a baby born alive after an attempted abortion is entitled to medical care. And yet somehow this bill is too much for my Democrat colleagues, Mr. President. Somehow saying that a living, breathing baby born alive after an attempted abortion is entitled to medical care is a step too far. I'd be interested to know exactly what it is that they're afraid of. And I suspect they're afraid that by pointing to the humanity of the born child, they might end up pointing to the humanity of the unborn child. After all, it makes no sense to say that a baby is not a human being a second before birth and is a human being a second after. And so I suspect that Democrats are afraid that recognizing the humanity of a living, breathing, born child in an abortion clinic might end up leading to protection for unborn children. And Democrats are apparently so determined to ensure that the supposed right to kill unborn children is protected that they're willing to oppose a law to protect born children. It is a tragic measure of their extremism on this issue. And if anyone thinks that abortion isn't a slippery slope, that we can somehow devalue unborn babies' lives while maintaining respect for everyone else's, well, I'm here to tell them differently. Because we're at a point where roughly 50% of the United States Congress opposes protecting the lives of born human beings if they happen to be born alive after an attempted abortion. Mr. President, in a matter of seconds now, one of my Democrat colleagues will object to this legislation. But I hope and pray that this will not be the last word, and that one day soon we will get to a point where legislation like this will not be controversial and where human rights of every human being, born and unborn, will be respected. So, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on the Judiciary be discharged from further consideration of S-204 and that the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration. I further ask consent that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Mr. President.
The Senator from California.
Reserving the right to object, Mr. President, I rise in opposition to the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, despite what our Republican colleagues propose. The contents of this legislation would yield harmful impacts on patients and providers. This bill creates new and vague standards of care for physicians providing reproductive health care that are not based in medicine, not based in science, and not based in fact. It goes to unnecessary lengths to penalize doctors and patients for so-called substandard care when current federal law already ensures doctors the obligation to provide appropriate medical care to all their patients. This bill fails to consider a serious reality for expectant parents. Too often, some parents learn late in their pregnancy that their baby wouldn't survive due to factors beyond their control. At that point, parents are often placed in a position to make one of the most difficult decisions of their lives, which is to end the pregnancy at the delivery of their baby. That is why my Democratic colleagues and I have taken to the Senate floor over the last few weeks to plead with our Republican colleagues about protecting a patient's right to choose what to do with their own bodies. But this bill is an attempt to once again drag our nation backwards, and I refuse, Mr. President, to sit idly by and watch it happen. For those reasons, I object.